It's like the Dragon Crew's getting ready to dock pretty soon.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And had time to follow it. Okay. Okay.
Those astronauts got to be bored as shit in that self-flying spaceship, you know, just fucking sitting there for 24 hours.
Right, right.
Like, imagine being just terrified and bored at the same time. You know?
That'd be crazy. But I mean, yeah, that'd be pretty cool to go up there and
oh man, I'd give it.
Explore the unknown. You know, I had a conversation with somebody about that not too long ago about, you know, there's nothing left to go out there and really discover. I mean, I guess there kind of is, but nothing like brand new to say, hey, I found this land over here that nobody else knows about. And
yeah,
those mysteries are all kind of gone now.
Well, they're going to start capturing asteroids pretty soon, I bet. Start dragging
Right.
them home for all the elements.
You think we'll ever have a base on Saturn?
On Saturn?
Mars. I'm sorry.
Mars for sure. Yeah, I think they're going
Right.
2024, right? Just a couple of years now. They'll be on the moon, what? Next year, I think they said.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, man. In our lifetime. Can't believe it.
Hey, everybody. Sorry about the technical difficulty. We'll get it hammered out one of these days. But hope everybody's doing good out there. We're waiting on Mike Hall to come in. I guess I was calling him Bill last night, but I was about half asleep. But he'll come in. We got some great questions we're going to ask him. AKB is with us again. Pretty interesting guy. I like a lot of what he has to say. So we invited him back on and chatted up with Mike tonight. So we'll see what's going down. So do you work now, or
me?
kind of retired?
I'm a writer. I wouldn't call it work.
Nice.
But I do some writing here and there, and but no, mostly I'm pretty much retired.
So the Medium article link that you post, will that show all your writings that you've done, kind of written out there?
No, that's just my thrill of the chase stuff. See, my solve is so lengthy that it's taking a very long time to put all the pieces together, because I think the chase is very long. Everything's very simple and all the connections are simplified.
Yeah.
But it takes a very long time to explain. And if I were to skip ahead and start telling you, you know, go here or go there, then all you would say is why. And it wouldn't make it. You have to follow the clues. So right now I'm through, I call it the rainbow solve. And it goes red to purple and then black, gray, white. And right now I've got published up through orange, and I'm starting to publish the yellow this coming week. So
nice.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. It's exciting.
Wichita, Kansas. You born and raised in Wichita?
Nope, I came up in California and a little bit in Montana. I spent time in Utah, but mostly California.
I like Montana. I spent more time on the the eastern end, down there around Glendive, Dickinson, North Dakota area. Kind of ran around there, business things that I did. Hell, that's been 10 years ago now. But yeah, I've always liked Montana. I've always liked the West, shit, that was always me, the mountains. I
Yeah.
moved out there for about 6 months. My wife made me move back. So she didn't dig it as much as I did.
Yeah. Now, if you gotta like being alone, hanging out in Montana.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't have a speed limit for shit. How many years?
A long time.
For a long time, right? And then I think they on that, what is that, 95 I-95? They finally changed it to whatever the speed limit is. I think 90 miles an hour. But it's not like a regular speeding ticket like you would get here. It's an excessive use of energy or something like that.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering right. I may be wrong. Some of you Montana guys might say bullshit. Hey, we got Mike coming in there. How you doing today, Mike? Oh, he's still connecting. You got any audio? There he is. Hey, Mike, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. My name's Casey Johnson. We got this other feller here with us today. He's one of the searchers that was part of the Fenn treasure hunt. His name's ABK. Pretty cool little guy, and we've got a lot of people watching us today, and kind of curious about you.
What would you like to know?
Well, let's start out with I guess what you're doing nowadays. You're still a real estate guy down in, is it Ada or Ardmore,
Yep.
Oklahoma?
I'm in Ada.
Nice.
I'm in Ada. We moved here about 12 years ago.
12 years ago.
And have really enjoyed it.
Nice.
I came here to retire and found that was really boring. And so I went back into the real estate a little bit.
Nice. Well, I guess let's dive into it from back in. There's a great big search community, as I'm sure you know. I haven't seen too many, any interviews really. Has anybody ever interviewed you before and kind of quizzed you about Forrest and any of y'all's business dealings?
No, not for a long time.
Gotcha.
It was a long time ago.
Right. So when you guys, how did you guys first meet? Let's start.
Well,
with that.
I'm trying to remember exactly how we first met, but it was actually through business to start with, and he had referred some clients to me, and we got along really well. And one thing led to another. I sold my company, and then once again got bored, started another one. And Forrest, like I said, had helped send us some business and stuff. And there was no way I could reciprocate under New Mexico real estate law unless he was part owner of the business, because he wasn't a licensed agent. But as a part owner of the business, he could. And so that's really how we got together. And then I could, like I say, could reciprocate and handle a lot of his stuff for, no charge and things like that. And it worked out well. We had like I said, a good relationship. Got to do some traveling with Forrest. Got to fly with Forrest, which was a treat.
Oh, nice.
And we were flying up to Great Falls, Montana to go fishing on the Charlie Russell Ryder ride. And he had a single engine Bonanza, as I recall. No, Aero Commander. And he said, "You mind flying at low level?" I said, "No, that doesn't bother me at all." Well, I didn't realize that meant under the telephone wires. But anyway, it was a great trip. He was a great pilot.
So did he kind of push things on the edge when he flew? Was it a real maverick?
It didn't, he was so good. It didn't feel that way at all. It didn't feel that way at all. And we were flying up, coming back actually. Well, let's see, flying up is when I figured out we're going to go under the wires. And sometimes we went over them. And then we flew, when Yellowstone had the big burn up there, and we flew over that. And I mean, it was really fun. I mean, there elk running and buffalo and all that kind of thing.
Wow.
And with us was another friend of Forrest who was a doctor from Phoenix. And Forrest said, "Well, get your cameras ready, guys." And about that time, he puts that thing up in the bank, and we're just staring right down at Yellowstone Falls. It was a great trip. Great trip.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you don't do none of that kind of flying no more, right?
Only if somebody offers it. I loved it.
Right. Nice. Nice. What year did you guys go into business together?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Let me think about that. Probably about, I want to say 82.
82.
82 or 83, right in there, yeah.
Right. Nice. And you guys, did you do any like commercial real estate, or was it just basically properties and stuff like that?
We did a little bit of everything, yeah. A little bit of everything. Santa Fe is not that big, and we didn't really specialize in any one thing at all. Of course, the homes there are a lot more expensive, and that made it fun as well. But and Forest connections, were just superb. So,
oh wow,
that was one nice thing about that. I got to meet a lot of really famous people, and it was fun.
Oh, nice. You got you got 82. So I think, was it about 10 years you guys were?
That's about right. Yeah. About right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then,
go ahead.
Then we got another offer somebody wanted to buy the business, and so we sold it, and that was pretty much it. Then I was just well, let me put it this way. Somebody asked my wife how it was after 25 years being my own boss and things like that. How was it that I wasn't my own boss anymore? I was actually working for a friend. And she said, "Well, he's a whole lot easier to get along with." and I said I couldn't find any advantage to it, except that I made more money, got more time off, and slept all night.
Oh, nice. So how about when Forrest got cancer? So I guess she was around in that time frame.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Go ahead.
Went to Phoenix or Tucson. Which one was it? Anyway, kidney cancer, and but they took good care of him. Came out of it smelling like a rose.
Nice. Well, what is your thoughts on all of this treasure hunt? There's there's some cool people out there that's done it, and there's, I guess, a lot of crazies too, huh?
Well, now that it's, I guess, finally been found, I thought it was a great deal. Forrest was, above all else, was a really honest man.
Honest man, yeah.
Yeah, and so when all that came out, everybody said, "Oh well, that's some sort of farce or something like that." I said, "No, if that's what Forrest says, I'm telling you it's true." And sure enough. Nice. Did we ever find out who actually found it?
No, still a mystery. Kind of like everything else. Yeah, that's I guess there's a Medium article that was wrote that's kind of controversial right now between the community. I don't know if you knew the Douglas Preston guy, if you ever met him at all.
No.
Writer friend. A lot of them speculate that he wrote that article, and there's just a lot of things flying out there. And, that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to, I've been wanting to chat with you for a while, and I just never reached out. You were right here in my backyard in Oklahoma this whole time. And I've got this channel. It's dedicated to searchers and their solve. And I call it Finding Fenn. And that's the other part of this, is that's how I came into searching for the treasure. Was I'm trying to figure out who Forrest Fenn was. because I believe I had a lot of similarities to him. You know, just the way I've lived my life. I'm pretty young. I didn't grow up with money. I made that, through the years, and
Right.
I felt a connection with Finn there. And but there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of questions on his integrity, and you would have the closeness to him than any of us anyway. So we thought it would
Well,
be
I
pretty
I
neat
can
to
tell
have
you
you
that
on.
Forrest didn't come from money either. His father was a school principal in Killeen, Texas, I think it was, and but spent his summers in Yellowstone, and so Forrest got to spend a lot of his time growing up in the summertime in Yellowstone. Became a good fly fisherman and amongst other things. But when it comes to business, Forrest was very calm and quiet. He was not showy. He was not pushy, but he had a keen mind, and he took that from a little shop there on Old Santa Fe Trail by the Pink Adobe to the final gallery there, which was gorgeous and very successful. And he did it, like I say, in a very calm and peaceful way. But and part of that, I think, lends himself to the fact that everybody knew he was very honest,
Right.
and was fun to do business with. Had a
How
good
about a
twinkle
great
in his smile.
storyteller? Could he tell them stories real good?
when the books he wrote, were really interesting, and he researched those things. Well, he had a very extensive library for the Southwestern art and the Southwest and everything, and so he knew where I bespoke. I'll say that.
Nice. So he liked to read a lot then too, huh? And research.
Yes, very much so. And he liked to do field work. He bought some property out south of Santa Fe where there was an old pueblo. And we'd be out there and you just walk around and there were pottery shards and relics like that all over the place. And
is that the San Lazaro pueblo?
Uh-huh.
Is that
right?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So it sounds like you had some good little adventures with him too. Now, there's the Del Neitzel guy. I guess Finn met him back in 2009 or 10, and he has a website that was dedicated to the treasure and kind of a blog. And last year at this time, there was a blog actually that come about you. It's Scrapbook 223. And are you familiar with that at all? Did you know that was written?
No, uh-uh.
I'm gonna share this on here for you. Let me pull my little screen up. Just see. Share.
So I missed that there. I was messing around in the chat. Did you say that you didn't know? You didn't read the scrapbooks?
I'm sorry,
did you hear him, Mike?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I missed what you said a minute ago. Did you say that you hadn't read the scrapbook that you were featured in, or you had read it?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw this up here.
I was just curious if Forrest Fenn ever told people that he was going to put them in a scrapbook or not. So I guess we get that answer right there.
I guess not. No, I never saw it.
Can you see that there, Mike, on your screen?
Oh yeah, we were fishing up in Yellowstone, and that's his father on the left.
Right.
And he was a really good fisherman, and
so this would have been back in the 80s, right?
Yeah, that's when we flew up to. We stopped in Yellowstone on our way up to the Charlie Russell Rider thing in Great Falls, and did some fishing with his dad, and had a great time.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. I just thought I'd show you this. I didn't know if you were familiar with it or not, but this was last November is when this came out. So 1 year ago this month.
And where is it?
This is off of Del Neitzel's website. If you'd like, I can text this link to you later. If you'd like to read on it a little bit, I'll text you this link later, and you can check it out. And it'll direct you right to it. So that way you ain't got to fish around I forget how many scrapbooks there are. Almost was there 250 or 60 of them?
Oh my God. Huh.
Yeah, just
somebody's done a lot of collecting, haven't they?
These are things that that Forrest actually put out to the search community. He would submit them to Dal Neitzel, and that they would post them so we could read things about Forrest's life throughout the years. Just whether it was, I don't remember if he had anything really current on there. It was always things from the past.
No, that's neat. I haven't seen that, so yeah, I appreciate the link. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. Adam, do you know more about the scrap? I didn't study on the scrapbooks a whole lot, but what would you say it was more about things that happened in the past in Forrest's life more than the future, I guess?
Yeah, it was reminiscence. He would talk about the people that he knew and the things that he did, and everyone would always read him really, really close, trying to see if there was a little bit of a hint here or there.
Matter of fact, I think he even touched on flying low that day. Let me see this.
It's funny that you were mentioned flying under the telephone wires, because I think he talks about that in this scrapbook.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, that's what I was trying to look. Yeah, flying down what highway was that? 285 heading
probably
back to Santa Fe. Yeah.
We came back. We were flying. We came back. There's a lake just to the west of Pueblo, and it was a summer day, and there's a lot of sailboats out there, and Forrest came down right on the deck. Everybody was getting the thrill of that.
No. So we know Fenn was a great storyteller. From what I've noticed, the things he would talk about, he would go in great detail. I can tell a story, people, they can listen. Yeah, that's good. But just the way he put everything together, just the extra little details he would add into things is kind of what made his stories so great.
He did, and he had a lot of good stories. I mean, talking about being pulled out of the jungle twice in Vietnam, and on the the hoist they had that would go down through the jungle, and then they'd sit on him and pull him out.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty spooky stuff.
Oh wow! Yeah, right. Yeah. All right, Adam, you got any questions you want to ask Mike?
Sure. How much did you and Forrest Fenn research land rights when you were working on real estate?
Very little. He was more into that and looking for areas that for his collection, to add stuff to his collection. And so that was basically what he was doing. My battery's trying to go south on me. Hold on.
Oh no.
Well, we can do this some way. That ought to work. Okay.
Good old technology.
Yeah. It's wonderful when it works.
Okay, so how about when you guys are fishing? Did he tell any stories that seemed a little too tall?
No, as I said, he didn't really need to exaggerate anything, because what he did was exaggeration enough. So he would talk about things, and always had a little twinkle in his eye, because if you knew Forrest, like I said, he's very calm and very, very, how would I say it? Not really effusive, but he always had this little twinkle in his eye. It was fun. It was fun.
Sounds like y'all had some great times, man. down there living the life in Santa Fe.
Well, it was good. It was a good life for a long time. A long time. I just Santa Fe got a little Californicated for me, and
Gotcha.
is the
I
best
think
way
I
to
know
put
what
it.
you mean. I think I know exactly what you mean.
And you know, I'm from Oklahoma originally. I was raised in the city, and when I moved to Santa Fe, if anybody ever said, "Well, you moved back to Oklahoma," I said, "You're crazy." But eventually, we got back. We came back here, and I love it. I love it. We're going out to Santa Fe next week for Thanksgiving. Our youngest son just bought a house out there, second home out there. So we're going out to do that and get around. But they've shut the place down so much that you can't go out to eat or anything. So.
Oh yeah.
But my son's a great cook, so I'll just stay there and eat turkey.
I guess the governor came out today. Did you hear him this afternoon talking about? I guess we're going to shut a few things down. I guess and more separations in the restaurant and all that.
Oh yeah, I mean, now are you talking about here or back there?
Here in Oklahoma.
Oh, I saw a little bit about it, but not much. You know, we've pretty much been untouched down here.
Yeah.
And we were out back in Santa Fe about a month ago. I've got some friends here. We ride motorcycles together, and we were back there, and we got to go out to dinner one night, and then we had a very unfortunate happenstance, and we had to come back early. But it was still pretty dead. Still pretty dead. You get room anywhere you wanted.
Has this coronavirus affected any of your real estate business now? That slowed it down any, or kind of helped it?
I will be honest with you. This is the best year I've seen since I've been here. And
right.
Like I said, I kept thinking, well, I'm going to retire, and so I was semi-retiring and being really choosy about who I worked with, and I've been busier this last 6 months because people called and said, well, can you list this for us? Come on, please. And so that part's been real good. It keeps me busy and keeps me out of the house, which makes my wife happy.
Interest rates are super low right now. Crazy.
My other son is a mortgage broker in Salida, Colorado, and you know they're doing 2 3/4, 3%, 30-year fix. I mean that's insane. I remember in Santa Fe when we were doing 18%.
Wow, that's crazy.
That
Wow.
business.
Yeah, my wife made me finally buy our lake house. We closed on it on the 24th. I got 2.75% interest.
Isn't that amazing?
That was pretty good. Yeah, that's awesome.
Is that Eufaula?
Eufaula Lake. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And like we were talking on the phone a little bit the other day, you know, 600,000, which I think is crazy for Eufaula Lake. There are a lot prettier lakes out there, but and it's a nice place. You know, it's really nice. But yeah, 600,000. You said out in Santa Fe, that's just a dump in the bucket, ain't it?
The house my son just bought was 810,000, and he had to pay 10,000 over list.
Oh wow!
And he was, because there were 5 offers behind him, and he'd lost one the week before with only 5,000 over list. So
wow,
it has not hurt the real estate business. It's been amazing, and the car business has been good. I mean,
the car business, just about every business. Yeah,
it's amazing, except for the restaurant and hotels.
Yeah, restaurant and hotels, only one struggling out there. Wow, but that's only because a lot of them can't open, or they can only have so many people in a certain area or something like that.
Yeah, and you know the people are traveling, but I think we stopped to look at a motorhome here a couple months ago at 2 different places, one in Shawnee and one in Oklahoma City, and they said, you know, we're just having a real hard time getting stock. I mean, we can't keep up with it. And that was amazing. So, well, you're sitting in one right now, right?
I am sitting in one. Yeah, this is my little treasure studio. I have to come out here because we've got a lot of kids, and it kind of gives me a little more privacy than having kids running in and out, or even you still hear them screaming in the house. They're not that bad. It's just I just kind of want to dedicate a little more private spot.
They're kids.
yeah, they're kids. That's right. My grandma used to always say, "Let them be little." Me, a couple different ways. One, I was a Nashville recording artist back in 2010. Got some radio airplay. I still get music royalties to this day from it, album sales and a little bit of radio play. Pandora, you can check that out, guys. Pandora, I get some stuff off of there. That allowed me to do things like open some small businesses. It opened up an internet company, got in real cheap on it, and then I turned around and sold it for a great profit. And I did that to a couple different little businesses. So
good for you.
I was pretty fortunate. And then of course, having a little bit of money, people would always come to me, and sell me land because they were needing cash. So I accumulated land up over the years, and I'd sell a piece here, do this. So, real estate, man, you can make some money in real estate. That's for sure. And that's kind of what I do now.
Are they?
They're not. That's exactly what I say, right? Because I have a hard time. I'll buy a piece of property. It may have 5 acres on it, may have 20, whatever. I'll end up giving them a half acre and then keep the land around it. And
that's the way to do it.
Right.
When I first got in the business back there, the guy I went to work for said, "You don't make any money selling real estate. You make money buying real estate." And he was absolutely right.
Yep, that is true. That is true. Let's see. We got a couple of people out there. Let's see.
Oh, we got a question for you here in the chat.
Yeah, there you go. Get one of those. I had some written down. Go ahead.
What have you seen of Forrest Fenn's collection, and what do you think he was most proud of?
Great question.
I think he was most proud of his Indian relics, and he had for instance, a moccasin collection. It was incredible. I mean, just covered one whole wall, and he really loved a lot of the art, the Western art. But as I said, Forrest was a rather precocious businessman, and you'd ask him about art, and he said, "Well, so many people say these artists paint because they just love the art." He said, "That's bull." He said, "They're painting to make money," and he was absolutely right. And I think he felt that way about a lot of his collection. There were some items, of course, he really treasured and kept, but basically, he was there to make money. And,
so he would collect to make money, you think, or do you think he collect for the love of collecting?
I think some of the things he collected just for the love of collection.
Right.
And like I said, he loved Indian artifacts. He loved anything to do with that kind of thing. And
do you know if he was Native American or if Peggy was?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay. I've always just wondered that myself. I'm Cherokee Indian, and I just always wondered.
I think he got part of that from growing up where he did in in Texas, and a love for it. And when he retired from the Air Force, I think he had started collecting stuff before that. And when he opened his shop there on Old Santa Fe Trail, that's what he stocked it with to start with, and then worked from there. I mean, it was probably, if it was 800 square feet, no, it wasn't that big. It might have been 450 or 500 square feet. The shop he first opened there by the Pink Adobe.
Oh, nice. Now we have a question from the chat. What's the most interesting real estate sale you guys were involved in, would you say? Was there anything interesting, or was it just, your basic buy sell?
No, it was mainly that. The most interesting story I have about that was one of my agents sold a house to a collector, to a guy, an art collector from the Texas Panhandle. And part of the deal was he traded in a number of, he paid for part of it with paintings. And Forrest had appraised the paintings. And the guy turned the seller, the guy that got the paintings, turned out to be a real greaseball and lost his butt and a bunch of stuff, and then tried to claim that Forrest had overappraised the paintings, and had an attorney from Albuquerque that apparently he owed a lot of money to, and he told the attorney that was the case, that he had done that, and so he sued us. And when we went to court, the judge, when we finally got it to court, about 30 grand later, but when we finally got it to court, the judge said, "Are you out of your mind?" and just threw it right out of court. In fact, his attorneys had left him by then too. So that was one of the unfun things we did, but we did a lot of fun things too.
Sounds like it. How about any other land? Did he like to buy land out of state?
No, not so much. He pretty much concentrated around Santa Fe. He had some rental properties for a while and some other things like that. But other than the land he had for the Pueblo, I wasn't aware of him buying much of anything else. Just
he really cherished that piece of property, didn't he? The Pueblo, yeah.
He liked it a lot. He could spend, he was so smart. He could just spend hours out there on it, and I can say he did his research well, so he knew a lot about it, and he just loved it. He's a good guy.
Nice. Now he was kind of architect in quite some time. I've found some tapes from back in the 60s, and he was talking about he would go on these old farms and stuff, and they'd let him dig and do things around, and so he's done it for many
years. Collected a long time, and like I say, that's what before he retired. He was collecting before he retired from the Air Force, and when he did, that's what he started his initial store about, initial gallery.
Nice. Adam, you got any questions?
Here's another one from the chat. Did you ever get to see the treasure chest?
No, never did. Never did.
When you were hanging out, or Forrest went on vacation, or was there any special place that he liked to go besides Yellowstone?
He liked the mountains a lot, and as most of us did who lived there. I mean, that's kind of the reason we lived in Santa Fe, over the mountains and stuff. So he liked the mountains a lot. I don't remember him ever talking about going any place in particular.
No special fishing spots?
Yeah, he and Peggy, were pretty much homebodies.
Nice. Did Peggy go with him on any kind of fishing trips or stuff like that, or was it always she did her girl thing, he did his guy thing?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. No.
Gotcha.
She may well have, but not when I was around anyway.
Who was maybe who starstruck you the most, you think, that was brought in from Fenn, like a Ralph Lauren or
Dustin Hoffman,
nice.
Jane Wyman, who else did we meet there? Michael Douglas. We were funny story, he had a after play party for Don Meredith and gosh, I'm getting old. Frank, the quarterback from the New York Giants, or the halfback from the New York Giants. His wife, anyway, and they did a play, The Odd Couple, there in Santa Fe, in the Greer Garrison Theater. And after that, he had a cocktail party for him after the party. Then, and I'm standing there at the bar, and this guy standing next to me, and I'd look over. He's about my height, maybe a little taller, and he said, "Hi, how you doing?" I said, "Fine." I said, "I'm Mike Hall." He said, "Well, I'm Leroy Jordan." I said, "No, I don't think so." He says, "Because Leroy Jordan was about this tall." That's my and so anyway, that was. But there were neat people like that, and almost all of them were just really, really nice guys and nice women too. So
Nice.
it was a good experience for me, being a little Okie boy. So I learned a
Nice.
lot.
Right. Was Forrest a flirt with the ladies? Did he like to flirt with the girls?
I would say that's probably the case, but it was innocent flirtations.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, no, I wasn't playing it.
Come to think about it, I think I met him through my first wife. Come to think about it.
Oh, really? Oh,
I think she may have introduced me to him as I think about it now. But anyway, yeah. But he was a charmer. I can tell you that.
right.
He was a charmer.
Great storyteller, man. That's what I say. I just always go back, listen to his
Stories,
stories, and boy.
A lot of guys like that, they have a couple of rehearsed stories. Did Forrest ever have a favorite story he'd like to tell at parties to win people over?
No, I don't think so. He didn't talk a lot about himself, to be truthful, and of course so obviously he's pretty secure in the fact that he didn't have to talk about himself much. But it was just, like I said, it was really fun. We had a party one time, and Jonathan Winters, we were at dinner, and Jonathan Winters was there, and Jonathan was doing a little bit of show for us and stuff like that. So we're just neat people, getting to say you met them, and Jerry Spence, who was the attorney in the Karen Silkwood case. He was a character. Brian Dennehy, all of them, and but I found that to be the case with almost all the ones that are in Santa Fe. And the funny thing about Santa Fe was that they were really good about not bothering the celebrities. People would leave them alone and respect their privacy. So they seemed to like it there a lot.
Right. So you think Santa Fe's changed a lot since that era in time when you guys were in business down there?
Yeah. The thing about Santa Fe was that the population base when I moved there, which was 1973, was about 50 to 60% Hispanic, and the rest were Anglos. And over the years, that changed. The ratio changed, but the problem was that a lot of the people that came there didn't come for Santa Fe per se, and a lot of it, especially out of California, they wanted to make it LA East, instead of accepting it like it was. And a lot of them, came and left, went back because they couldn't function in that kind of thing. But it raised the cost of living so much. I mean, when I first got there, a house on Sequia Madre, a nice adobe house on Sequia Madre might be $125,000. In their day, be $1,250,000. And
wow.
I mean, it's just it's amazing. The house one of the house that Dustin Hoffman was looking for was on Camino de Monte Sol, and it was about 200,000, as I recall, and had a pool and 4 or 5 acres there, and it was $200,000. And he said, he said, Mike, he said, 5 years ago I was drawing unemployment. He said, now I'm a superstar, quote unquote. He said, you have to go with my manager, my business manager. So he flew his business manager out from New York. His name was Michael Hecht, and we're driving down the community of Monte Sol, and he thinks he's in the slums. And so anyway, Dustin did not buy the house, but before I left there, which was 12 years ago, it sold for over $2 million. So
Nice.
Nice. That's what the market's done there.
Now you was down there in a great era, it was the Southwestern times, that art was in, it was in a lot of movies, pulp culture.
A lot.
So yeah, you got to experience all that,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I give credit to Forrest for introducing me to a lot of that stuff, and it was a great time. The business was good. We lived through the 18% interest area, but we also caught the first oil boom, which was a stitch as well. So we get people coming in from Texas and looking at property, and wife would say, well, honey, I just love this house. I said, well, heck, we'll just buy that and we'll just put it on the next well. That's the way they finance.
Right. Wow.
It was fun.
When was the last time you spoke to Forrest, and when was the last time you seen him in person?
Probably about 13 years ago, just before I left and came back. Before
Nice.
that, he was doing well. He was out watering his aspen trees out in front of his house.
He loved those aspen trees, didn't he?
He did. He had really good taste. He had the builders that built his gallery and everything were really neat guys. One of them was a pretty good friend of mine, and had good taste and good ideas, and he just did a fine job on everything he touched. Truly.
Awesome. How about was you ever interested in the chase, the treasure hunt? Did you ever read the book or study the clues or anything like that?
No, I didn't. That was not my thing.
Not your thing?
I knew how big the Rocky Mountains were.
Right.
trying to find it in the Rocky Mountains. I spent a lot of time up there on dirt bikes and stuff, so I know how long that area was. And I said, and Forrest is so inventive, and it'd be real interesting whenever it comes out exactly where it was and all that.
Right. Yeah. That's what we're all anticipating. I'm just real curious about that solve. I always wanted to match wits with Forrest to see if hey, did I have any part of this right or all of it right, or how close was I? That's always been my whole thing. I'm not so worried about the finder. He can stay anonymous, and of course, we all wanted the treasure, but my main thing, was the solve. I just wanted to know exactly what everything meant. That's what my whole thing was.
Gotcha. Well, I can understand where the mystery and the want to find would come at that, but that's just not my bag.
Right. Do you collect anything? Do you collect art or bottle caps or?
I've got some art I've collected. Yeah, I'm more of a gearhead. I like things that go fast.
Right.
Cars, motorcycles, and the like. Just packed up. Got to go down to Albuquerque when I get back there next week and pick up another dirt bike for myself. So,
what's your favorite muscle car?
Well, the Cobra's got to be my favorite muscle I had a Shelby GT350 that I really
nice.
liked. It's probably my second favorite car. I've got a friend here who's got a 427 Cobra. I rode in it the other day. That'll turn you on. But my youngest son has a Tesla. Have you been in one of those?
Just on the showroom floor. I haven't got to drive one, but I hear the acceleration in them things are crazy.
It would. I've put it up against the 427 Cobra.
Oh wow!
I mean, it's that fast. Yeah,
that fast.
And I raced cars for a while and other things, and I would definitely put it up there. I said it's one of those deals where you put the $100 bill on the dash, and then you sit back and say you can have it if you can pick it up when I accelerate, and you're not going to get it.
Oh wow!
Hey,
you may be onto something. We may start a electric car racing league. That'd be pretty wild.
Well, they've got that Formula E. You know.
Oh really? Yeah, I hadn't
followed
that. Wow.
They're like Formula One cars, except they're electric powered.
Nice. Adam, how's the chat doing out there?
Chat's doing good. Everyone seems real interested. Here's another question for you. If you had to pick a state where Forrest Fenn would have hid that treasure, which one would you pick?
Be Wyoming or Montana.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I would say probably Wyoming.
What makes you say that?
Because I know he loved it up there. And familiar with the area pretty well.
Real familiar, nice. Did you ever get to see his clove point collection?
His which?
The fin cache, I think is what they called it. It was the clove points that he had a big collection of those.
Oh, the Clovis points?
Yeah, the Clovis points.
Oh, seems to me I did, but I don't recall it right offhand. Nice. I know what you're talking about, but no. He had so many different things were Indy related, you know, way beyond the arrowheads and stuff like that. I mean, bows and quivers and lots of beadwork and, like I said, moccasins and clothing.
Right. Nice. So he would you say, I guess, collected more Native American things, probably more than anything else, I guess, more than probably even art or.
For himself?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say that, yes. I mean,
nice.
You know, he liked the, you know, the Remiges and the Charlie Russells and a lot of that. And I'm sure he probably kept some, but I think his real interest and love was in the artifacts.
Nice. Cool. Hey, I appreciate your time. I really do. I know you're a busy guy. I know the search community appreciates you coming on here, answering some questions because
sure
you were so close to Forrest, and we really appreciate your opinion on everything and your insight.
Well, absolutely. You know, you get over to Ada, buy you some coffee.
Cool. We'll do. You come to Eufaula, come on out, man. Check out my new lake house. I'll let you, we got some nice sea-doos too. You like something fast? Them things are fast.
I bet. You
Pretty
got
cool things. All right, Mike. Hey, man, I really do appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. And, man, take care. Happy holidays coming up to you.
You too. You're more than welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, Adam, what do you think about that?
That's pretty great. We got to know a little bit more. You heard it from him. Either Wyoming or Montana was the best guess.
And he said Wyoming more than anything.
Yeah, which makes me think Montana, because why would you put it where your friends could find it?
Right. There you go. Out of sight. Isn't that kind of, it's just odd that, well, I guess it really wouldn't be odd. I don't know. I would be looking for it. If that was my friend, I'd say, I'm going to go out there and find that treasure chest. But
he's right about the size of the Rockies, though. You've been out there. It's
yeah. Oh,
place.
yeah. Yeah, humongous place. Awesome place though.
Yeah.
Great place to hide a chest. Yep, pretty cool, man. It was pretty neat that he came on. You know, he didn't question Fenn's integrity one bit.
No.
He and I mean, I have no reason not to believe him.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all out there searching for it. If you believe that he hid it out there, you know, why else would you go if you didn't believe the man? That's my question.
Right.
A lot of people out there thinking he's a sham and it was all a hoax. Well, if you think it's all a hoax, why were you ever looking?
Right.
I think the first thing you should have decided on is whether or not you could trust the man. And if you didn't look into that before you started looking, you just wasting your time.
I agree with that. 100%. 100%. Cool. All right. Chat, what'd you think out there, guys? Did y'all enjoy that? We like to bring on some cool little guests. We'll dig up some more. Who should we get next? Ralph Lauren? Get him on there.
Well, you might as well get Michael Douglas, right? That'd be your next guest.
Yeah. Yeah, we get him. There were so many. I think what Fenn said, Robert Redford. He said Dustin Hoffman. That was one guy. I guess he actually lived out there too.
Yeah, I'd like to hear a bunch of Kirk Douglas stories. I think Forrest Fenn wrote some scrapbooks about Michael Douglas, and wasn't he in one of the books too? And I would bet that that's because of Kirk Douglas, because Kirk Douglas was a huge in the westerns.
Right.
So I'd love to hear some Kirk Douglas stories. I bet there's.
All right, Michael Douglas, we're coming after you next. You're coming on, buddy.
Yeah.
We'll try to track you down. Let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah.
We'll try. Never say never.
Why not, right?
Right. Let's see. Check on the chat. Nice. All right. Let's see. I want to throw out a quick email real quick. If you want to talk about anything.
Sure. What can we talk about? How about this? How about the idea that there's a writing technique out there called the ticking clock? And I think it's really interesting and might pertain to what's going on, because now there's a lot of other things in play, right? It's not just about a finder anymore. Forrest Fenn knew that there was a lot of people heavily invested in the thrill of the chase. And he knew that people were going to be wanting some answers. And he doesn't, talking to his friends and researching his life, he doesn't seem like the type of guy who would let it go unanswered for long. I would think that because there's no answers right now, there must be a purpose for not having any answers right now. And so there's a writing technique called the ticking clock, and you see it in like television shows like 24, where they literally have the clock there on the screen and you got 24 hours to solve a crime or something. And I think that that's an interesting aspect that might be going on right now. And if you had to guess on when the clock would expire and answers would come, whether the finder wanted to or not, what would be your best guess date is my question. What do you think?
Nice. Yeah. I've been struggling with, of course, the ending, you know, that really messed with me, messed with a lot of people. More people are more confident. Yeah, 100%. This is how it is. But the more as it goes along, it looks like, there's something else. It ain't over yet.
So if you had to guess,
only time will tell. What's that?
If you had to guess a date for more information coming out, gun to your head, what do you think?
I don't know. 1,000 years?
1,000 years?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, I'm gonna throw a date out there. I'm thinking December 24th, which is Christmas Eve.
The day he came home after he was shot, something like that.
He came home after he was shot down, and it coincides with some date. It's a date that also coincides with some other stories in history that I think are related to the thrill of the chase as well.
So have you seen some of the talk about like the June 5th? There was a June 5th on the treasure page book. Let me grab that just to make sure I'm talking right. So, so you're basically saying dates are significant, correct?
I believe dates are very significant. And not only that, I believe, not that there's GPS coordinates in the poem, but I believe if you can solve the stamps, the riddle of the stamps, then you'll get some GPS coordinates.
You know, I've always, because it's funny about them stamps, ain't it? They're marked through here. They have the date and the day and the year. But if you go back and look, like this June 5th, isn't that funny? June 5th is on the treasure page book. June 5th, that's when it was supposedly found, correct? But if you go back and look up this date, what is that, 1883? I'm not 100%. I can't see it good. But if you go back and look, that's not on a Friday.
Nope.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I absolutely know what you're saying. Those days
none of them match up. Have you hit on that too?
Oh yeah, I believe if you can decipher those stamps in that manner that you're talking about, you'll get a GPS coordinate. The only problem with coordinates is you don't know how to unscramble the numbers unless you have the right map, right? Because all you're going to be end up with is a seemingly random numbers until you have the map, and then you can pinpoint it, get a direct location.
Would that be special knowledge? Would that be deciphering? Like,
well, you have to figure out how you threw out a map, right? What map do you use? What maps are significant? You got to read the book and follow the clues and find the map. And I told you the map that I think is the one that you're supposed to find, which is the Beaverhead Deer Lodge Central map.
Correct. Right.
So if you can unscramble the riddle of those stamps, you'll get a series of numbers at the end, which coincide with that map, which leads you to a very specific place.
How about stamps in general? You think that was maybe a clue or a hint in the book?
Stamps in general?
Like, you see the little ID badge right here?
Yep.
It's got the picture when he was, what, probably 6, 7 years old, maybe? Okay. There's a little purple stamp that looks like it was ripped off right there. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, I don't think it's ripped up. I think the picture is covering up that stamp.
Or covering up. Okay, right, right. And then there's also, if you look down there in the corner, there's a thumb. Have you ever noticed the thumb up there? I've noticed a lot of thumbs throughout this book.
A lot of thumbs, even references covering up Philadelphia, right, with his thumb?
Right, that. And then when he was chopping down the wood, he's got his thumb pointed back towards me like this. Right. He does that. I forget what page that is, but
what do you think about that thumbs? What comes to mind when you think of thumbs and doing this besides the Apollo missions, right?
I don't know. That's what I've been searching, because I picked it up. This is page 146, and he's looking up at the moon with the bird, whatever kind of bird. That's debatable. Chop down the wood. He's got his thumb pointed back towards me, like, I guess he's saying my turn, but I don't know. What do you?
Well, when I look at thumbs and I think about that, because that's something, I don't know if the real astronaut did that, but that's something Tom Hanks used to do in the Apollo movies, right? Apollo 13.
Actually, I did research that. That was what astronaut was that? But that really did happen. But that happened that didn't happen on Apollo 13 mission. Happened like in Apollo, whatever mission that astronaut flew before 13. He did. He actually did that.
He did that. So what it reminds me of is the Mandelbrot set, or the Higgs boson, which is the God particle, right? And the Mandelbrot set is known as God's thumbprint, right? And the really interesting thing about the Mandelbrot set is that it's a repeating pattern. And if you research chaos theory, you'll see that the most, I guess, most relevant pop cultural reference about chaos theory is the butterfly effect. You heard about the butterfly effect? The butterfly collapses.
I'm tracking.
Tornado or something. Right? So what it really boils down to is that simplicity gives rise to complexity. So if you can find the simple connections, That's what creates the complexity of the chase. But you got to follow step by step, little tiny repeating patterns. Follow those little tiny repeating patterns until you come up with a grand design, right? It's the same as like making a rug on a loom. It's the same little knots over and over and over again until you get a rug, right? And I think that's what that clue is with those thumbs, and with, you got to follow the little patterns and you got to find the conjecture. And then once you extrapolate it all, and it gives rise to a very large predictable pattern, which then you can use deductive reasoning to find out where the chest is.
Nice.
That's how I think it works. And that's why there's 81 hints, right? It's not just 9 clues, only use the poem. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that say all you need is the poem, you don't need the book. And I think that's, it's a little hard to swallow. It's hard to believe because the poem is just directions, right? There's no ciphers, there's no hidden codes, none of that stuff. It's from the horse's mouth himself. So if the poem is just directions, then how do you figure out where to start? You have to go to the book. Otherwise, the book has no purpose.
Right. Kind of like he said, even though he said, hey, Warm Waters Halt is the first clue, but then he turned around, but you got to know where to start.
Exactly. And if you don't know the man who wrote the poem and his life and the way he thought, like most of us don't, we don't know him. All we know is what he showed us, right?
Right.
So you need the book to find the different waypoints, you know, the hand that points the way, over the buffalo's back, under the frozen pool, right? City Slickers too. I love that movie. I can't stop.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch that damn thing now. I like treasure movies in general too. That's just,
yeah, man. The Goonies. Goonies was the same way. You got to follow the trail, man. You know, following Copperpot's trail.
Right.
Indiana Jones was the same way.
You were asking me about. Go ahead.
And in the beginning of Indiana Jones in the Last Crusade, right? He starts out in class and he talking to his students and he's telling them stuff like X never ever marks the spot. And then what happens 3 scenes down the road? X marks the spot. The question is, what spot does the X mark? It rarely marks the last spot because that's just giving away the answer, right? But it's got to mark some spot, and that spot is a part of the trail. And this is the way I always think about it is, if you've ever had to be a trailblazer or blaze a trail through the mountains or through doing logging or anything like that, you need more than one trail marker. Otherwise, it's just a ribbon in a tree, right? You have to have the multiple markers to be able to follow the trail. There can't just be one blaze. There's got to be multiple blazes.
Nice. Now, you were asking me yesterday about the if I ever searched Jesse James's treasure. Yeah, man, I grew up doing that. I've got some cool photos. I'll email them to you. I found some JJ anchors and stuff. Yeah, some pretty cool stuff. And like I said, you know, at the end of my property, I got Bell Star's grave. Man, that's awesome. And you know, the James gang, they hung out down there a lot when they would go thieve horses or need a place to stay, hide out, because this was all Indian territory and there was no laws, more or less. You know, they couldn't come up this way and track them down. So yeah, some pretty cool history. I love treasure, 100%. You know, I just
like the adventure. I don't know
which
trail it is.
Right.
I just want to follow it.
Right. Yeah.
I want to get out there and do something stupid, get myself in trouble.
Right.
But I think cowboys play a very big role. Forrest Fenn was a Texan. He grew up in Texas as a little young buck in the what is that? The 20s, the 30s, the 40s, somewhere around there.
Yep.
So what was big back then? It was all westerns, all cowboys, right?
Right. Yep.
That's gotta. You think he never went looking out for Jesse James's gold or any of that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Famous cowboy treasures out there, like the Dalton gang, right?
Right. Yep.
And there's repeating patterns in those stories. Cowboys hide things in a specific way, and if you can figure out what way they hide,
right,
you'll figure out how Forrest Fenn hides things. That's
right.
Yeah, but I think that's that these shows, they don't talk about enough. how do you identify a clue? How do you read a story in Forrest Fenn's book and come out thinking there's a clue in there? What do you look for? That's my question to everybody.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you there.
And I think there's specific things that everyone should look for, like the misspellings and the made up words, right? But really, it's just anything that stands out in your mind. There are writing techniques that, like the ticking clock, that you can use to make a passage in a story stand out in people's minds. And that's where the clues lie. Excuse me.
Right.
So I think
I know we hit on it.
That does that reads some of these stories out loud on one of these live chats and discusses what stands out to you, what stands out to me. How is it everyone can read this story and come away thinking something different? Where's the mix up? You know, what's happening? Right. I think that would be very helpful for us to all start working together, because you watch some of these shows and everyone's just kind of yelling at each other. Then you get sidetracked, you know?
Right. Yeah, a lot of chaos, confusion. Yeah, I agree with you there. Absolutely.
So we got some more in the chat here. Like, here's one for you. It says, X marks the spot where the lines cross. I don't know. What do you make of that?
X marks the spot where the lines cross.
I guess that's just
referring to where maybe Finn was talking about. You got to marry the clues.
I don't know. I got a map of Montana right here. Check this out. See that? Now, where's X mark the spot on Montana?
Right there at your yellow tab.
Right here, right? Big ol' X.
Oh, you got an X?
Right at Butte, where all the highways cross.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Right? Where all the major highways cross. And that's something I think is important. Now, I'm not saying Butte is anything or has anything to do with it, but roads are built on top of roads, right? Like all those trails are already thoroughfares and thoroughways for the people that came before us, and we built roads on top of it. That's like when Forrest talks about cultures on top of cultures, right?
Right.
So like the Bozeman Trail is mostly paved now, right? And we all drive it all the time when you drive through Montana. Everyone takes the Bozeman Trail and goes through the Bozeman Pass, right?
Yep.
And I think that's some of the stuff he's talking about, you know, like what we do now and the stuff we take for granted used to be a hard road for somebody. So I don't know what,
hard road, and we paved it to make it easier.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Here's another one. If Forrest special places where he wants to be scattered, maybe there are already family members scattered there. If so, we'll never. I guess that's not a question after all.
The stories themselves are clues. Forrest said we have to marry the clues on the map. Maybe the lines, real or imaginated, need to be crossed.
Okay. So let's think it. I think that the lines definitely cross. And at some point, the points where the lines cross are very, very significant. And I think those lines cross in multiple places on the Montana map specifically, right? But the only way you can find the line and how to draw it is by going through the book, finding the places, and then going to those places and taking an azimuth off the clue. That's how I think it needs to be found. And when you find what Forrest Fenn has left for you, you'll know that it was left for you, being a searcher, because you won't be able to find it unless you do your research, period. No one's gonna, it not only is no one gonna stumble over the clues or the treasure chest, no one's gonna stumble over the trail markers on accident and know them for trail markers. That's what I think. And I hate to sound so mysterious because I'm trying to give myself away. I'm trying to put it out there, but I don't want to talk past where I've already written, where I've written so far on my Medium blog. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. No, we appreciate you coming on. That's what it's about, and I invite everybody, anybody wants to come on, discuss it. Some people's worked on it for 10 years, some work for just a few years, and that's fine.
There's a lot of
talk about it.
And that's why I'm saying there's no way Forrest Fenn is going to let this go without some answers seeping out. So this moment of silence, as I like to think of it, has to have purpose. There must be a purpose for it. I think it's a ticking clock. I think people, if you want to find something before the answers come, you better start looking. That's what I think. You're on the clock. We're all on the clock right now. If you want people to believe that you were on the right trail, you need to speak up and tell your solves so that people can evaluate it. So I'd like to.
So you think there's going to be some kind of a big announcement on December 24th?
December 24th
from
is
the finder?
like my guesstimate. If there was an important date coming up that I think is the most important to the thrill of the chase, I would pick December 24th as the most important for multiple reasons, many reasons. Not least of all, it's Christmas Eve. You know what I mean? It could be that the real solve comes out at midnight or 11:59 on December 24th, so everyone has something in their stocking when they wake up the next morning. Unless you're bad, you're gonna get some coal. You get some coal. But I would like to give out another little part. There's one scrapbook that I think causes the most contention for people, that people love to argue about. And we got a lot of people talking in the chat, so this might be a good opportunity to throw this one out there so we can all argue over it, right? If you got the time. I don't know how long you go.
Chat away, man. We're good.
Okay, so I'm talking about Scrapbook 107, and that's the one with the telephone.
You want me to pull it up and post it on here?
Yeah, pull it on up.
107. Oh, I need to send Mike that link too. All right, 107. 107.
Scrapbook 107, the famous 107. And this is one of those ones where if you
don't... Is that the one with the telephone?
Yeah. It's one of those ones, if you don't think there's clues in the scrapbooks, this one will probably change your mind. That's what I think. I don't know how anyone reads this scrapbook and doesn't assume that there's clues in it. That's the one right there. And look at the title there at the top. People just don't understand, right? I think that's a pretty big hint right there. If you don't understand, let me help you try and clear something up. Now, what do you notice on that phone? You got the day and the date, right? You ever check that date to see if it was real? What does it say? November
11? Yeah. Is that a 16 or 18?
I can't tell. Because of the way we got it set up on Zoom here, it's about, an eighth of it. I ain't gonna see that.
It's hard to read it. That looks like an 18 though. 11/18, Monday at 2:39.
So you could throw that into Google and see if that was actually a Monday. I don't have any idea, to be honest. I never looked.
Well, it don't have a year on it, so that'd be kind of hard.
Well, the year is posted just above it, right?
Is it? Let's
scroll back up.
See.
It would be 2014.
Oh. Well, this is when it was posted.
Sure.
But what
right?
What error in time was he talking about? We can check it out. Yeah, we'll look at that.
I think this is just his actual telephone, right? And he just took a picture. He could have programmed the date to be a different date or the day to be a different day. That's a long shot. I never looked it up. It might not even be worth looking up. But look, there's some people on the chat right there saying they found hints in this scrapbook. So let's walk through it. Let's walk through it. So in the first paragraph, what's he talk about? He's talking about copious people are wandering by that spot and he laments that no one takes the time to straighten out the phone cord, right? So he said people are going by the spot, and then literally he's talking about the phone, right? This spot by the phone. But figuratively, we could imagine that he's talking about one of the spots in the Thrill of the Chase, right?
Okay.
So let's go out on a limb and say there's hints in here and he's talking to us, and that people are going by the spot. Lots of people are wandering by the spot he's trying to highlight, and nobody's understanding, and no one's stopping to take a closer look and straighten out the cord, straighten out that phone cord. Now imagine you did walk up and straighten out that phone cord. It would make a loop, correct?
Yep.
It would come out the side of the phone and the receiver, come out in a nice little loop and be nice and straight, but it would be a nice big bend in it.
Okay.
Right?
Yep. I agree.
Let's keep that in mind. Now, the last time we talked, I told you how I think you need to start your research in the Twin Bridges area, and that I believe Three Forks is where warm waters halt. And so Twin Bridges would be your put in, right? And from there, I told you about Osborne Russell and how he leaves the Big Hole River off, and how Lewis and Clark got into a little bit of trouble on the Big Hole River, crashing some boats and sinking some ships and whatnot, right? So the Big Hole River, when it comes out of Twin Bridges, it comes down and it makes that same style of loop right around McCartney Mountain. And it would be the same image as a phone cord if you were to straighten it out, right? So that's what the area, that's the spot I think he's talking about, is that spot specifically along the Big Hole River around McCartney Mountain, all right? And then he says, that's not all. There's always a right way to do something and a wrong one, but he spells right with a W, right? As in to right, and not you are right, right? Right, right, right,
right, right,
right, right. So
right.
that makes you look at the notepad, right? Because he's talking about writing, and there's writing on the notepad. And what does it say? It says, don't forget your driver's license today and get some gas. And I'm gonna make the assumption that that's a note from Peggy, right?
Okay.
And it looks like a piece of note paper on top of a notepad, because that top page is green. I'm a little red-green colorblind, so correct me if I'm wrong, but those pages look different colors, yeah?
Maybe. It looks like there's, well, first I thought there might have been two stacks there. One was red, one was a pinkish color, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe the colors aren't as important as I would like to believe, but it looks to me that there's either two different stacks of paper or one sheet of paper on top of the notepad that's normally there, as if it was brought from another room in the house.
Okay.
Right? Like, so let's say Peggy wrote it in her office and she brought it out to the kitchen and dropped it off next to the phone, because so she'd know Forrest would see it.
Right.
Or whatnot. Right? Hold on. Emergency text from the wife.
Uh-oh. You're caught.
Oh no, I was telling her the new Spider-Man video game's out on PS4. And she said, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because she knows I'm gonna buy it. I can't help myself. Right? So there goes $60. She ain't happy. Anyways,
you bought a PlayStation 5 yet?
No, man, they only send those to YouTubers and famous people. They don't give them to us normal folk anymore. You know, there's only a supply, and you can't have one. Bunch of jerks, if you ask me. I hate them all. But thanks for building the machine. I can't wait to play it. Anyways,
right.
So let's get off the two style notepads for a moment, and let's think about what Peggy wrote. She said, don't forget your driver's license and make sure you get some gas. And so what that's telling me is that this clue is going to be about a place you need to drive through. Did we lose you?
Nope, I'm here. Somebody's
Okay.
trying to call in on my phone there.
Oh, that's all right. Anyway, so this note leads me to believe that this spot is a place you're supposed to drive to. right? If we follow the imaginative story, what we call as writers, we call it, there's an A story and a B story. And that A story is what everybody reads, but then there's an undercurrent B story that you're supposed to understand subconsciously. So what I'm talking about is that B story. This is Forrest Fenn talking to us as searchers. This is a place you're going to drive to. Don't forget to get gas at at wherever you need to before you get to this spot, because there's not a gas station nearby. So before you leave the last major city that you get gas before you go to this spot, because you ain't going to find gas when you get there. That's what it's telling. And obviously don't forget your driver's license, because you get pulled over, you're going to be in some trouble. Right, so wherever this spot is, we're going to drive there, and I believe it's along that Big Hole River somewhere. All right, so let's move on. Scrolling down, what do we see? We see the silverware drawer, right?
Hang on just a second. I got to stop sharing that, and I'm going to redo this.
All right.
All right, let's try this again. Okay. Okay. And come on.
Look, Nomadic Madman, you're
Go
getting
ahead.
ahead of us there, talking about the clues on the envelope. We ain't that far yet. All right, slow your roll, high speed. Driving too fast. Here's another one. Get gas could also mean the distance takes no more than a gas-filled tank. But I guess that depends on what kind of car you're driving, right? Because, you know, Tesla is going to take a lot less gas than a Humvee.
Right.
What else we got in this chat? It's fun having a chat. You still trying to share the page there?
Yeah.
I'm gonna refill my water mug while you're doing that. It's weird looking at my face at so many angles. You know, it's really weird hearing my voice being replayed. I didn't know my voice was so high pitched. In my head, I have a very deep voice.
Right.
And then I hear it on.
It changes, and then your microphone can always make you sound funny as well. But
right?
No, you're sounding good though.
Why, thank you. But I'm a married man, so you know.
No, easy, easy.
All right, we ready? Scroll down to the silverware drawer. You got that? You're still looking at the YouTube page.
Oh, hang on. We're good. All right. Yeah, I was reading some comments. Go ahead. Silverware drawer.
Silverware drawer. You got that up on your screen there?
Yep.
Okay. You want to share it so everyone can see it?
Can they not see it?
No, we're looking at your YouTube page in like.
Oh, did I share the wrong one?
Yeah.
Let's try that. There you go.
There we go. All right, so now we're looking at the silverware drawer, and on the left you can clearly see everything's all jumbled up and mixed around, kind of like how I put my silverware away. And on the right, you see the ADHD version of straightening everything out, which is another
right.
clue to tell us that we need to get all our ducks in a row, right? So if we want to figure out where we're going, we need to make sure everything's set in the right order and is nice and pretty and looks good, right? And if you were to click on that picture or hover over it, I believe he calls it a combo, right? In the description, or maybe it's just when you go to save the picture to your hard drive. but you don't need to do it. Just take
Yeah.
my word for it. He
Okay.
calls it combo.
We'll
and it's
take your
probably
word
just
for it.
because there's two pictures there, right?
Okay.
All right, so we need to get our ducks in a row. And he says, please don't tell me that I'm the only Homo sapien on the entire planet who cares about these things. I don't know why he says Homo sapien instead of person or people. Do you have any insight for why he would use a word like that?
I don't know.
I don't
That's
get it.
just Forrest, man. It's
He's
either
just-
Forrest or maybe it's a clue.
It could be a clue, and to be honest, I have no idea what that could mean. So if there's anyone in the chat knows why you would say Homo sapien other than person, let us know. All right, so now let's go down to the most important picture, and that is that envelope, right?
Okay.
So the first one had a couple clues in it, and it looks to me more like foreshadowing with that picture, with the phone cord and whatnot. And then this last picture here is where all the clues are. This is our riddle, right? So it's like Nomadic Man was saying, you take a look and you see what's on the left. Now, obviously we got that pen pointing up, and it looks like it's at a pretty near perfect 45-degree angle from that $5 bill to that pen, right? And then that pen cap is pretty well placed at a much shallower angle. Let's call it half of 45, which is what, 22.5, right?
Okay.
So they're pretty dramatic increments. And what I'm getting at is that's not something you do by accident. You don't just throw a pen down and they land at perfect angles like that. That's something that was placed, which I think should be the first clue that this was purposeful. There has to be a reason for this. It's not just a picture of random stuff.
And how about the stamp almost at the same angle as the pen lid?
Exactly. So let's start to the left of the pen on the top line where it says Mr. U, or it almost says Mr. U, but that cap is kind of covering up part of it. Now, in my opinion, Mr. U stands for Montana University. It would be MT for Montana, and then the U would be university, right? 1921, I think someone mentioned the 1921 would be the year the fort closed just south of Montana University, right? And then you have a little triangle set above that pen there. You see that? For what you would assume that says Florence, correct? Most people would, a lot of people would if you know the Montana area.
Okay.
But all you really get to see above that pen is that little triangle. Looks like a little teepee, right? So let's try and marry that to the map, like Forrest is always saying. You got to take the hints and take the clues, and you marry them to the map. So let's grab a map of Montana, which I got right here on a nice big cork board, right? Get my chair. So now let's try and find Florence, right? And everyone knows it's down here somewhere over by Missoula, right? South of Missoula near Hamilton somewhere. No, closer to Missoula than Hamilton, just south of Lolo down Highway 93. No way you're going to be able to see that on the screen, right? I'm just going to point to the general area.
Give them a general, yeah.
Right, so if we think of that pen cap and that pen marking this area, just up here by Missoula would be Montana University, right? Just below that, down Highway 93 is the fort, which closed in 1921, right? And then following 93, you end up in Florence. And it's about this much on the map, right? So that's one spot. Now we got the right side of the pen. Now that we have this highway identified, now let's go to the right side of that pen. Now what do you see? You see pew seat, right?
Okay.
But backwards, we have teacup, right? And it's like I was telling you with how to search a rabbit hole. You got it when you fall down a rabbit hole, you're backwards and you're upside down, right? Just like in Alice in Wonderland when she goes into the mirror world after falling down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
So you read it backwards, teacup. Just below that, we have elderness, right? Which our imagination tells us is most likely wilderness, right? And then just above or below Lincoln's Neck, which is above the $5 bill, you got another little triangle there. You see that? Another little teepee?
Right.
Right? And then below that, we have the Florence. So if we take a $5 bill, and let's talk about that stamp real quick. That's a centennial stamp, right? It's backwards, it's mirrored.
Okay.
So we're thinking most likely Centennial Mountains. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
So let's take a $5 bill. Let's see if I'm married, so cash is hard to come by. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
All right, so I got me a nice crisp $5 bill here. Straighten it out, and we'll try and make it look like what he's got there, which is, it looks like it comes down at a pretty steep angle, right across the eye in 5. Little tear there. Coming down, showing a nice little, what a lot of people think of as a rainbow, right? Because he's always saying, find it at the end of the rainbow.
Okay.
So this is, I don't know if it's exactly what he had, but we're going to call it close enough, right?
All right.
Nice little sliver. So let's stick it on the map, directly on the map. Marry it, just like he said. Now, those little teepees on a map have there's a reason for them in the legend on a map, the little teepee. You know what a little teepee is on a map?
Oh, yeah. Damn.
Is a
I can't
campsite.
think off the top of my head. Campsite, that's what I was going to say, but I couldn't remember. Yep, campsite.
And right here at
Okay.
Florence, there's a nice little campsite, right? And if you take the
Now,
edge, $5 bill.
In the put-in, doesn't it have a TP too on a legend? For a put-in on a map?
Yeah, on the river.
Yeah, on a river. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the
doesn't it use a
put-ins are
TP?
right there at the campsites.
Well, I'm saying, doesn't it have a TP symbol as well for a put-in? Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we got our little Florence put in right here, and we stretch a $5 bill across, and now we have a nice little arc that we can swing this $5 bill around and try and line it up to something on the other side. Now, one of our clues here is Teacup Lake. So you can find Teacup Lake on the map. And then you've got the Centennial Mountains down here, right? And the Wilderness Forest area. Wilderness Creek, or Welcome Creek Wilderness, I believe it's called. So you end up going south of Welcome Creek Wilderness. You end up covering up Teacup Lake, which is right here. And you swing it around and you look for something that makes sense. And you'll find, I believe, right here, that $5 bill, you're never going to see it on this video, but I've got it on my medium.com article. If you want to read it, you'll see that $5 bill lines up perfectly with the Big Hole River and stops at another little area known as the Glen Campsite, which would be the other T under Lincoln's Neck there, just at the top of that $5 bill. So I believe that this scrapbook takes you using a $5 bill as a measurement, which is a measurement all of us have at hand at home, along with a map of Montana that we could all easily get. You stretch that $5 bill across and you'll end up at the Big Hole River, which is what that little rainbow signifies, because that's the shape the Big Hole River makes around McCartney Mountain. And that's where you need to go. You need to get some gas in Butte, because where is it that his car broke down? In that scrapbook.
I'm not sure. I haven't read this one. Yeah.
He's talking about being in Santa Fe, right?
Okay.
But there's also a nice little Walmart with a gas station across the street right there in Butte, because that's where he left his car, is at the Walmart, right?
Right.
Right. So in Butte, there's a nice little gas station right across the street from the Walmart where you can get supplies and fill up the gas tank and then drive on down to Glen, right where this $5 bill is pointing. And if you don't stop and get gas there before you get there, there ain't nowhere to get gas in that area of Montana. I'll tell you. Well, there's
A lot
one
of
spot
Montanas that
along
way.
Trapper
A
Creek.
lot.
Yeah, there's one spot along Trapper Creek, but that's only if the guy's home and wants to sell you gas today. You don't always want to sell gas every day.
Right.
So you need to fill up before you go. And that's what I believe that $5 bill means.
Right. Gotcha.
It's a measurement device. It's a tool. And that's why those angles are placed purposefully. That's why teacup. That's why wilderness. It's pointing you in the right direction. He's trying to help us out. This is the spot where everyone gets messed up. They find the first two clues, begin at where Warm Waters halts and take it in the canyon down. And then they drive right by the Big Hole River and he can't figure out why nobody turned. Right? And I believe that's how you marry the clues to the map, just like that. And he holds your hand and he points you in the right direction.
Gotcha. So you're feeling that the scrapbooks just kind of came out over the years to maybe to help guide them a little bit, guide with your clues.
Wanted to play, you know, it's his treasure hunt. He's the dungeon master of our little adventure here, right? And he wants to interact. He wants to play. He wants to be a part of it. And that's why that epitaph that he wrote for himself reads, "I wish I could have lived to do the things I was attributed to." Now he's attributed to starting the thrill of the chase. And he wanted to have a treasure hunt that he could go and solve. So I believe that means that what he wanted was to have a treasure hunt like he created so he could be a participant.
Gotcha.
So why else would he put his email in the book if he didn't want to play?
Right.
Yeah, he wants to play. He wants to interact.
Nice.
And that's where I think it points, is the Big Hole River right there below McCartney Mountain. And I told you that that what I believe is the word that is key, if I had to pick one, was cold, right?
Right.
Now, if you look at that area of the Big Hole River, I think you'll find a place called the Burr Garrison Ditch, right? And what does Burr sound like?
Hang on just a second here.
We have the chat help you out. I'll ask him. There's a question from the chat. How do you make a solution from one scrapbook? That is just one small piece of a very long solve, and it doesn't create a solution. What it does is it gives you one piece of a very large solution. It gives you a little boost, a helping hand, because Forrest Fenn wanted to play. He wanted a lot of people to find that spot. He wanted a lot of people to go where the thrill of the chase begins. And no one could find the starting point. And I think it's over the years, I mean, it was probably fun at first. There's a lot of people checking it out and getting nearby, but they were missing the other clues. They couldn't figure out how to get the ball rolling. So he started giving out easier clues to get you to that spot so that you'll look a little bit closer, because that's really, truly where the thrill of the chase begins, along the Big Hole River, for many, many reasons. For many reasons in history, for many reasons in Fenn's childhood. It all starts coming together right there in that spot on the map. But that's nowhere near a solution, right? Forrest Fenn started talking about the difference between a correct solve and a general solve. This would be more of a general solve, right? This is one little piece of the map of an 81-point bulletin board. This is one answer. So now you got 80 left to go, you know, and if you found where Warm Waters halts and the put in, right, now you got 78 to go. You're on your way, but you're nowhere near the end.
Nice. Right. How about your effort will be worth the cold? How did you interpret that?
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? You'll find the Burr Garrison ditch along the Big Hole River. And what does Burr sound like? Burr is cold. What you say when
Right.
you're cold, right?
So you think it's like a temperature or a hint towards, because I always thought of it, your effort will be worth the cold. I took it as, something was cold blooded, like maybe there was a massacre close to this side or, something like that.
And I'm going to go ahead and tell you that that's also true.
Okay. Yeah. That's kind of what I was asking.
You that you're on the right track. That is also 150% true. And you should go with that gut instinct. Because like I said, there's 9 solves that lead you to a complete solve.
Right.
That line of thinking will get you a long way, buddy.
Right.
That's a good observation. And this is what I'm saying. Everyone has something to offer in this chase. If you ever spent some time really critically thinking about the thrill of the chase, you will have come up with an answer that is correct. Every single person, because there's so many stinking answers. Right?
True.
It's not just one answer per clue. There's 9 answers per clue. 9 times 9 is 81. And you're on one of the best ones, right? You're just a little bit farther than I am in my writing. I'm starting called Project Yellow. I'm almost finished writing it now, and then I got to go back and edit it and make sure I didn't make an idiot of myself, and then I'll start publishing it. Right.
What else do you write? Do you write books or novels?
My heart lies in fiction. Mostly of what I've written so far is creative nonfiction, because whenever I meet somebody, all they ever want me to tell is war stories or firefighting stories. I worked for the coroner's office for several years, so I got a lot of murder mystery stories that I can tell.
Oh, nice.
And so that's what people mostly want to hear. But I like fiction. I think most things, when you do it in real life, it sounds really great in a story, but while you're doing it, it's not as exciting as the story is.
And that's normally why you got to add something to it to make it exciting. Kind of like the movies, this is right.
I've never written straight nonfiction. I've only written creative nonfiction where I get
nonfiction.
Where I get to lie a little bit and embellish,
Nice. Yeah, that's
cool.
I
had some success. I published a little bit in some tiny little magazines here and there and stuff like that. Nothing anyone would have read, very niche stuff.
Right.
But I've got some great fiction stories I'm trying to get to, but I'm stuck in this creative nonfiction mode because Forrest Fenn stole my brain for the last several years. I've been doing
Right. Yeah, I think we all kind of got wrapped up in all of that, the last 7 years, 8 years. I mean, that's the last thing I did before I went to bed. I'm either reading the book or, researching something. That's what I fell asleep to every night. You hear people talk. Somebody will be telling you a story or telling you directions. Oh, yeah, it's not far, but too far to walk, right? Them things got burned in our brains.
It gets ingrained in there and you can't get it out. And Forrest Fenn knew that. There's no way that he's going to end something like this, without something on the back burner,
Right.
He's not, he might be trying to teach us a lesson. There has to be purpose to it, is what I'm saying. There has to be a purpose to this moment of silence. There's no ifs, ands, or buts in my mind. Answers will come, but this is like a test, a waiting period, like a mandatory hold in a flight pattern, holding pattern, right? And maybe we're waiting for people to stop suing, Maybe that's what you have to wait for the legal stuff to get over and done with before things can move forward. Who knows, man? I don't have any idea. But
wow.
Or maybe he's just waiting.
Pretty crazy.
Maybe he left it in the hands of the finder, and it's up for the finder to go and try and tell the story, and it's up to the community to choose to believe or not to believe. You know what I mean? If you find somebody who you think holds a lot of answers and can find a lot of clues out, maybe you should start listening to that person a little bit more. And it's like I always said, we don't have to wait for a finder. We can elect our own. You know what I mean?
Right.
lots of people out there with very interesting solves, and we can all get together and discuss this and come up with a creative and logical way to solve this thing to our satisfaction. We don't have to wait for anybody. The problem is the disorganization I see. Everyone wants to argue over what stands out and what doesn't. And if it doesn't fit their specific solve, then they don't want to listen, right? So
Yeah.
that's the struggle that I've been having. And that's why, you know, if you want to talk about your own solve, you got to find a platform where someone wants to listen to your solve, which is why I talk about my solve with you. But when I talk to other people, I don't talk about my solve. I talk about their solve.
Gotcha. Right.
I'm
Right.
here to talk about my solve, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Now, what's your take on the Medium article then? You
the finder article, huh?
the Finder article.
Yeah, I am the finder. You know, you got to take it with a grain of salt, right? Because Forrest Fenn came out and said some stuff like, the person that found the treasure, my poem led him straight to it. And then you read the Finder article and he says, I figured out where Forrest Fenn wanted to die, and then I brute force hacked the whole thing, checking and searching the area, and I don't have any idea what the poem means, right? So there's some contradictory stuff, and the only thing that's making people believe the Finder article is the pictures, which many people
Right.
photoshopped, right? So
Right.
in my opinion, I don't know why anyone even talks about the Finder article. It completely contradicts what Forrest Fenn said. Forrest Fenn is our game master. You have to take him at his word. He's a trustworthy source. He's never, I mean, he makes it fun. He inserts conflict, but he doesn't lie. It's one of the rules. He can't lie to you, right?
Right.
So if the evidence in the Finder article is contradictory to what Forrest Fenn has said, then you have to rule it out. That's my opinion. And when you look at the pictures, they're very convincing. But I just saw Wolverine, you know, fight with Rock'em Sock'em Robots life size on TV the other day, and that looked completely real, you know.
Right.
And I know that ain't real because I'm not an idiot, right? At least I don't think I am. So there's probably people out there that think I am, but I know that life-size Rock'em Sock'em Robots aren't real, and look at how good that looks.
So would your message to some of the searchers that are looking for closure would be maybe to open up your minds, open up your hearts, and work on it together as a community?
Absolutely. Stop looking for closure in everyone else and find it for yourself. No one's going to give you anything, and no one should have to give you anything. You can find closure on your own. We can work together. And it was said on the blogs for years. I remember I would come, I mean, there's not one clue that I have or thing that I have found that I have not given away to another searcher. I've just never connected the dots for everybody like I have just now with the map and the $5 bill. But all of my answers that I have are out there in the community already. It's just some people don't want to share. Some people think they're too good to share, right? And no one wants to work together, but I'd always read all this trash talk. Oh, if we'd all work together, we'd find it in a month, blah, blah, blah. But no one will do it. No one wants to have any part in it because there's money at stake. Well, I'm here to tell you the money's gone, fellas. There ain't no money at stake anymore. So walk the talk, put your money where your mouth is. If you think you can solve it and you think it's that easy, get on it, because you're about to get answers and you're not going to get another opportunity. This is a once in a lifetime thing. It's a once in a lifetime. Thank God for this holding pattern and this pause and this moment of silence, because if I had just gotten all the answers out of nowhere coming out of left field, I'd have been mad. I'd been crazy mad. How dare you leak the answers? It's like all these jokers on YouTube. Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out on the 10th. The walkthrough and the ending was posted on the 8th. I didn't even have a chance to get the game and the ending's already leaked. I hate all of you. I hate all you YouTubers leaking of the ending to my favorite video games. How dare you? I didn't even get Amazon won't even ship me mine. It's not coming till the 24th and the ending's already ruined. I hate it.
Oh, wow. Wow. How about any other treasure hunts out there? You going to partake in any of those? Like they got that the Great U.S. Treasure Hunt.
I don't think so. There's so many adventures out there to be had. Following other people's adventures isn't really my thing. What really captured me with the thrill of the chase was how late I entered into it. I didn't even hear about it until 2016. And now there's 6 years gone, and there's so many smart people looking for it, and they haven't figured it out yet. And I'm thinking, this is right up my alley. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get on this thing. I want like bragging rights, you know, with your buddies. I want to be the one that solved it, and I don't want Forrest Fenn to tell you that I solved it. I want to tell you I solved it, and I want you to believe me. Forrest Fenn doesn't have anything to do with that part.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I agree with you there. That's kind of how I felt about it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So gold is just rocks. I wouldn't even know what to do with rocks. My hands are made for dirt and playing in the dirt and having fun. You know, I like, when I go camping, I like to dig a hole in the ground and sleep in the hole. I don't need a hotel. You know?
Hell yeah.
That's how we do in the Army.
That's right. Nice. Well, cool. All right. I guess we'll wrap it up for tonight. I appreciate you coming back on and talking with Mike with me. That was cool. And talking about your solves some more. Greg, I think he's going to try to get a hold of you, get on the Treasure Seekers. I don't know if he has already. I think he's wanting you to come out and chat it up. And
yeah,
man, you're welcome to always come back here too.
Yeah, go ahead and forward my email to him, and I'll go on anyone's show and talk about anything I've written so far on the Medium article. I just don't want to get ahead of my own story and you know, and say too much too early, because if I tell you the end before you get a chance to soak in the beginning, it won't make sense.
Right.
You got to follow the waypoints, you got to follow the blazes, you got to follow the trail, right? And I believe that every clue has multiple sources pointing to those areas, right? It's not just, you know, I saw a picture of this and it kind of looks like that here, and that means it's true. There has to be multiple sources, multiple ideas, multiple clues, and multiple hints pointing to one thing. Otherwise, you can't be sure. And even then, you can't really be sure until you get out there. And even then, you can't really be sure because Forrest Fenn didn't tell you that's a part of it, right? You're constantly guessing and going through a trial and error process for a very, very long time. It's not a 2-week spring break solve. It's a well thought out, over the years, going to multiple locations and sitting out in the woods by yourself, you know. And I'm telling you, athleticism is incredibly important in the thrill of the chase. He talks about his dad and how he was very athletic. And if you want to find everything that Forrest Fenn left out there for you to find, I strongly encourage people to start doing their cardio. Right? Because it may be easy to get to the location of the chest once you know where the chest is, but you're going to have a heck of a time finding out where that location is if you can't climb a mountain.
What's your take on some of the other channels, like from the beginning? Do you think they helped searchers, or do you think it was, I don't want to use the word nonsense, but I don't know, maybe it was just trying to give them content for a show. Well, what's your take?
I didn't really look at any of the blogs besides Dahl's blog until I had an idea of where I thought it was going to end up, right? Because once you start revealing the patterns, you can start making some educated guesses. It gets a little easier as you go because you start seeing the pattern, and you can get ahead of yourself. And once I found where I thought the treasure would be, that's when I started getting into the blogs and the YouTube channels and all that stuff. And I didn't spend a whole lot of time backlogging and researching people's shows and what they were saying. I would just see whatever was current at the time.
Right.
Pick and choose who I thought I'd want to talk to, who I thought would help me make a point. Right. And a lot of people know, they saw me on the K-Pro and Cal Lazar show. And I contacted them because I had saw them in a video talking about the Forrest Fenn thing. And there's an interesting dynamic between Cal Lazars and Cade Pro, right? How they met on the chase, and they fell in love and started doing it together and all that stuff. And she's really talkative, and he's really much more reserved, right? He doesn't really tell you what he's really thinking. He's much more reserved in his own mind than he is out in the world. Whereas Cade Pro right out in front, and she wants she wants to be the one in the woods.
Right.
Which is, it's a little backwards from tradition, right? Traditional gender roles. And I thought it was interesting. So I gave them a ring and asked to be on their show. And then everything went sideways. It was interesting. I mean, if you watch it, I don't hold anything against them. I think they're fine people. I don't know them. I was just on their show. But she really did. She spent the whole time yelling at me, demanding answers.
Really?
Yeah, and I had this whole thing. We had like a pre-show interview where I talked to them, and I had an idea of what I wanted to say, and I wanted to let this part of my solve out. And what I really wanted to focus on was what I was talking about with you, was the scrapbooks and how to identify a clue, and the idea of a lead searcher, that Forrest Fenn is talking to people, talking to searchers through Dahl's site. That was the purpose, was to talk about. But that's not what happened when I got on. When I got on, it was, you're not giving us any information. You're not telling me anything about your solve. And I was never going to, because the treasure was still out there.
Right.
If you get your solve out before the treasure's found, you quit.
Right.
I wasn't going to quit. Right. So she spent the whole time yelling at me. And so I decided not to give them any more than I already said before they started yelling at me. And so I just kind of sat there and took the punishment for an hour and a half.
Wow. And that's I wasn't part of, the YouTube community. I would peek in occasionally because I'd come up with some ideas, and I wanted to see if anybody else was hitting on them as well. And that's one thing I like to do. I like to sit back and watch people. I can read people, just by talking to them. I can kind of see what they're all about. And
sure.
That's one of the reasons I created this channel. I've seen a lot of searchers, they had these solves, and they were piecing them out because, just like you said, they didn't want to give it away because they were still in the chase. The treasure was out there. And I just didn't like the way they treated them, and that's what brought this channel, come on out and talk about yourself. Now it is over. And that's the whole thing. I tell them, hey, if you don't give your whole solve, because there are some that think, hey, maybe it's still out there, whatever, cool. Come out and give your bits and pieces. It's cool. This is giving you your platform because you worked on it for however long, whether it was 2 years, 1 year, 10 years, whatever. That's your baby, as I like to call it. You like to watch it grow. Nobody can change that. And that's why we're here today.
Yeah. Well, that Cade Pro and Cal interview was a blessing in disguise, really, because I was going to give some more end result clues out that would hurry things along a little bit more. And I'm glad I didn't now. I'm really glad I didn't, because I really think the only way it can be explained is to start at the beginning, explained how you found what you think is a hint, and how it grew from a small little idea into repeating patterns, which leads to a complete solve. And that's how I think is the only way it can work. You know what I mean? And it's like I said last time, that's why it was slow rolled out. That's why you don't go to your celebrity friends and say, tell the world about this. You slow roll it out, and you get people thinking in a certain way, and it's the wrong way, until that one person comes along and starts thinking different and goes against the grain and says, whoa, I found this, and it's not working the way everyone's explaining, because everyone on those blogs had the exact same formula. You got your 9 clues in the poem. Maybe you need the book, maybe you don't. You get 9 points on the map. You go straight to the treasure. It's no harder than an 80-year-old man walking from his car 20 feet to wherever he put it, and then you're done. And that ain't how it works. I'm here to tell you, that's how it works in a perfect world, but we don't live in a perfect world. You got to follow the clue. You got to find the things that tell you where to go.
Now, Forrest even made a comment about that too. And I can't remember the exact phrasing, but he said something. It's not going to be found, something like on a weekend trip or whatever. You know, he was basically saying you're going to have to get out there, get boots on the ground, and take it in. You're going to have to take it in.
Exactly. You're going to have to do it the traditional way. You're going to have to go out and solve it. You're going to have to find what I left for you to find. You're going to, not only do you have to find the hints and the clues, but then you have to go out into the real world and apply those things to a specific location. And then once you run across the clue or the hint or whatever you want to call it, you need to be able to recognize it and recognize what to do with it.
Right.
And he obviously has limitations. He has to work with the landscape. He has to work with the terrain, right? And he has to hide things in a way that if some curious person who isn't looking for the treasure sees it, doesn't think that it's a trail. It has to be something more, right? So a treasure hunter would be able to identify it. It's the same crap Jesse James used to do, you know?
Right.
A curious bystander is just going to look at it and be like, huh, that's a curious thing. Let's move on. We got to get down the Oregon Trail, you know?
Right.
But if you're a treasure hunter or part of the Jesse James gang, you're going to look at it and be like, oh, Jesse left that. I know because I talked to him before and I know his process. And now you know the clue and it points you to where you need to go. And that's how every treasure hunt works. Every single one.
Yep, 100%. Cool.
What else we got in the chat here? Here's one that says, Aurora, Forrest Fenn sent us to Montana. Every geographical name is in information. I'd agree. You know, if you don't think Montana has something to do with the thrill of the chase, I don't know what to say, because I think there's many, many, many clues and hints that lead you to Montana. Not least of all, the dust jacket, which has been floating around the internet for at least, what, 6 years?
Yeah.
At least 6 years. Slow roll out on spring break. Oh yeah, that was the quote. You're not going to find it on spring break.
Spring break, correct.
What if land is not an issue? I don't know what that means, Street. What if land is not an issue? Someone thinks Dudley Creek, Montana. I never heard of Dudley Creek. You know what Dudley Creek is?
I'm not familiar with Dudley Creek. What's that old gold mining town up there? Was that Virginia City? Is that what that was called? Did you go
Virginia
through there? Virginia
City and Nevada City down along Alder Gulch.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they used to call it 14 Mile City.
14 Mile City.
14 Mile City. Yeah, it's the site of one of the largest gold strikes in America. I think they took what, something like $10 billion out of the ground out there.
Wasn't it the biggest strike in Montana, right?
Oh yeah, definitely the biggest strike in Montana. I think it's the second or third largest in the world.
Right. And it's pretty cool. I haven't been there. I researched that area a little bit. But I guess they kind of preserved the town still from like the 1800s. Is that correct? Have you been through there?
Yeah, I've been there. It's a great town. The people are real nice. It's run by the locals. They got a little train line, little Alder Gulch short line that runs from Nevada City to Virginia City that you can ride, which is a lot of fun. Nevada City is actually one of those towns where you can pay to live there and live the traditional way with the period clothing and carry around a musket or whatever you want and do some gold panning. There's good fishing along there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. So I took my boy out there a couple times and we went running around and rode the train. In fact, one time the train died while we were on it. And because I'm an engineer, I offered to take a look and I got to open up the hood of that train and look inside. And it's not actually a steam train. It's been reconfigured to run on diesel.
Oh, wow.
The problem was the fuel pump. The fuel pump died, which I thought was interesting.
Wow. Did you have a search partner?
Me, just my 4-year-old boy.
Right.
Well, he's
Okay.
8 now, but he was
8
4
now.
back
Right.
then. Yeah,
Nice.
and I started it just goofing around with him, not wanting to really take it seriously and just play and just be like, we're going on a treasure hunt, buddy, and we're gonna go on a long road trip and we're gonna go camping and we're just gonna goof off. And that's
Nice.
how it started. And then we started finding stuff. And I was like, all right, buddy, you're gonna have to go stay at grandma's house for a week or two because daddy's about to get crazy. I'm about to go 20-hour days hiking, 20 miles a day. And the 4-year-old ain't keeping up with that,
Right.
Daddy's about to
Wow.
go army out here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I took my boys on a couple boots on the ground that I went with. Yeah, it was some good times. But yeah, when you want to get really serious, you gotta leave them at home because
You can't put kids through the kind of stuff that I like to do. I don't know too many adults that can keep up with me.
right,
So,
right, yeah, that's like what I was telling my wife. She wanted to go on a trip, and I was like, "You're not gonna like it because I'm talking about not getting a hotel. I'll sleep in the back of the truck and eat beans out of a can and keep on moving. You're gonna want to shower, after an hour or two."
yeah, my wife knows how I like to do things. She made the mistake on coming on a couple of road trips with me while we were still dating. And she don't even want to try anymore. She wants nothing to do with treasure hunting and sleeping in the dirt. She's a real girly girl. So she won't even consider it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like to live rough, man. It's way more fun that way. If you got to stop and get a hotel at night and spend a bunch of extra cash just to be a little
All
more
right.
6 hours, I don't like to live that way. It's not any fun for me. It's like glamping,
Does anybody out in the chat have any questions for AKB before we sign off? Any questions at all?
Bill Gorman's in the chat.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah. He says you can only find it at Christmas. And Bill would know, he's the finder. He told me. I heard him on the YouTube saying it.
Right at Christmas.
I don't know why. Why only at Christmas? If it's out in the wilderness, it's like in a pocket universe. What do you think, Bill? What do you think about December 24th? I say there's a ticking clock. I say we're all on the clock and we only have a certain amount of time to figure this out before answers come. And I say that the next logical date that will happen is December 24th. So what do you think about that, Bill? Talking about Christmas over here. Do you think the 24th is a good date for information? What do you think about that date? What was everyone saying? F said, what if land is not an issue, meaning land has nothing to do with it? Well, I think he was talking about ownership, right? He was talking about property rights and land rights. So if you're saying land is not an issue, as in whoever finds it gets to keep it, I would agree. But if you're saying land is not an issue, as in you don't have to know your terrain features or do anything athletic, I'd have to disagree. Because in that specific conversation he was having, he was talking about ownership. He was talking about property rights and property law. He was not talking about how to find clues and hints in the world to find the location of the treasure. So why exactly the 24th from Fenn Jr.? December 24th was the day that Forrest Fenn made it back home from the war. And I don't know if you have any war buddies, right? But the day you get home is a memorable day, especially if you get to walk into your own home on the same day you land back in the States, which does not happen anymore. I don't know how he was allowed to do that. It must be an officer thing, right? Because when I came back from the States, they make you talk to about 50 different therapists and psychologists and see the doctors and talk to the dentist and get your teeth fixed. And there's a whole demobilization process that just makes you want to pull your hair out. You don't get to just jump off the plane and run back home anymore. It just doesn't happen that way. They got to make sure you're not, going to terrorize the civilians when you get home. They're very careful about when they let you out of your cage. You know, that's the funny thing about defending freedom. If you want to defend freedom, you have to give up your own. You don't get any freedom while you're in the military. You have to give it up, and it sucks. Not having freedom is horrid, and that's why I volunteered to fight for it. You know.
Nice.
Keep,
Lori wants to know, how close do you think you were?
how close do I think? I think I pinpointed it exactly. I think that I followed enough clues and found enough things out in the world to give you an exact pinpoint location on the map, past where Google Earth can take you. That's how close I got.
When was your last boots on the ground? What date?
You know, I can't remember. I get hit in the head so often that those things like that just pop out. It's not something I wrote down, you know. So if I had to guess, I would go out every summer as often as I could. I have limited funds, and my wife does a lot of stuff, so I have to wait until her schedule clears up so I can go run around. I mean, it's kind of a selfish thing to do when you really get down to it, because I'm using my family funds and tearing off by myself for 2-3 weeks at a time, leaving my wife with the kids, you know, to just sit around, wait for me to get back. So I didn't get to go as often as I would like in the summers, obviously, but I would guess summer of 2019, I probably went out. But I don't hold me to that. I know for sure I was out running around in 2018, 2017, and 2016, but I can't remember when it stopped becoming feasible to do. You know, I know COVID threw us all for a loop, right? And I was still planning on going, COVID or be damned. You know what I mean? I don't even wear those stupid masks, but I couldn't get out of town. You know, everyone was scared. My wife didn't want me to go, and I'm not gonna leave my wife at home if she doesn't feel comfortable, you know, in the current.
I was gearing up. We were going to leave the middle of June, and I was staying gone all summer long to look for the treasure. I had the family all talked into it. We were going to load up the camper and just hang out in Colorado a little bit, move on up, Wyoming, Montana, which we ended up going later. I think we went in August, and we did a real good trip, just a vacation trip out to Yellowstone, the Black Hills, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Bill here made another good point. Forrest Fenn was shot down on the winter solstice, and he was home 4 days later for Christmas Eve. And in between that, he went and saw that waterfall. Right? I don't know how he fit all that in 4 days. That's crazy. It seems difficult. Ready for December 4th. I got some intriguing information. December 4th. I don't know why is December 4th an important date. I will also say I believe December 24th is important, not just for Christmas Eve and the date Forrest Fenn got home, but it's in a historical date in history also.
Oh, was you asking about Fenn Jr., his 4th?
Yeah, December 4th from Fenn Jr.
He's going to come on here on December 4th and talk about his solve.
He's going to come on. I thought he was saying we were going to get, well, I guess we will get solver information from him on December 4th. So that could be.
Right.
You never know. He might.
Yeah. And the finder, if you're out there, we'll talk about your solve. Come on out, buddy.
Come on out. That's the funny thing about all this finder stuff is any one of us could be the finder, right? Any one of us, and could be out there giving their whole solve away. But how would you identify that person? Who would believe the solve? Who would believe the correct solve is the question.
Right.
Without
CJC, Casey, show off your singing for us. Go to Apple and Google my name.
There you go.
It'll sound funny through these headphones. Actually, it won't, but we'll save that for another time. Maybe a Christmas special.
There you go. Oh, the Crew Dragon's about to dock. They got the hatch open. Exciting stuff. If you want to see a spaceship fly at thousands of miles an hour, even though on screen it looks like it's barely stinking moving.
Being an astronaut, yeah, that would be pretty cool.
I'd give anything just to go into space, just to see it for myself, just one time. Now, Jack makes a good point. No one would believe the finder. Any one of us could be the finder giving out these solves, and no one, I don't think anyone would believe it. I think you give out every tiny little itty bitty piece, and no one would believe it, except I'll make there an exception of one important piece of information out there that I think the finder could say that would blow the whole thing wide open. I don't know why the finder would say it though, because it would ruin all the mystery. Right? I think that there is some things out there that you can find and that people could talk about that would prove it all. But I don't think anyone should. I think that's something.
Well, could they come out and say, here's the frog from the chest, or dragon bracelet?
Well, yeah, those things,
content.
But that's too easy, right? That's the treasure. That's the ultimate proof. Here's the treasure. It's in my hand. Here's a picture, right? Well, that's boring. It's absolutely boring, right? That's not a test for the searchers. Why should the finder's conviction solely be tested? Why can't the searchers, the searching community, be tested? Everyone thinks they would recognize the true solve if they saw it. Put your money where your mouth is. Point out who has the right solve. Point out what you think is a real clue. Lift up the person you think is the finder. Let's create our own ending. Let's get a whole lot of drama behind it. Let's try and entice somebody who can make this a very special event for everybody and reveal it on a live stream, going and looking at everything out in the world. You know what I mean? Why make it so boring? Why a picture of someone holding the treasure? I would not like that ending. That ending to me sounds so boring, so ridiculous. Boring. Just a picture of the guy. Hey, I'm the guy. I found it. Woo!
Right. Too easy.
You
know what? Here's a question I should have asked Bill, or not Bill. Why do I keep calling him Bill? Mike. I should have asked him, because he would probably know if he knew if Forrest was buried somewhere or if he had ashes. I should have asked him that. And maybe it's probably good I didn't, because maybe people might have dug his grave up. Who knows?
I don't know, man. People do a lot of things. I think everyone should stop digging things up now, though. I mean, I think if you believe that Forrest Fenn hid a box of gold in the Rocky Mountains and you went looking for it, then you got to take him at his word that it's no longer there to get. It's in the process of whatever process it needs to go through, right? And now it's time to talk about the solves and talk about the hints and the clues. Yeah.
Right. Here's a theory. What if he said it was over, so it could be found 1,000 years later? You think that's a possibility?
Anything's a possibility, right? I don't know what's going on through Forrest Fenn's head. I never met the man. I just know what he showed us, right? And it could very well be that the treasure's still out there. It's a possibility. I just think, me personally, I eliminate it because he said so. And that
I can't remember. Did you say you emailed him? Did y'all have any email communications?
The Forrest Fenn? I emailed Forrest Fenn every stupid thought that popped into my head at any random given moment when I was searching for the treasure.
Right. But did he email back?
He did, but it was never anything of substance. It was like a Merry Christmas, or, one time there's one I remember. I don't think I could quote it, and I don't keep them, but it was something like, I don't give private hints to the location of the treasure, or something like that. And it made me think, what the hell makes you think I'm asking for a hint? I don't want a hint. I want to solve it. I want to do it on my own. I don't want any more than you would give anybody else. Like, I don't want to be the one that finds it and then it comes with an asterisk, like you have the home run record, but you took steroids. You know what I mean? I want it pure. I want no debate. You know what I mean? So I would email him every stupid thing that popped in my head, and I would tell him, don't email me back. You're an imaginary friend, right? I'm trying to come up with who you are in my mind based on what I see. I'm inventing your personality on my own. I don't want you to tell me what I should think about you or who you are. I need to come up with it on my own so I can really understand it. If your imaginary friend talks back, it ruins the whole imaginative process. You can't have your imaginative friend actually spoke to you, you're crazy. You know what I mean? You can't be taking advice from imaginary people.
Nice, nice.
So I never wanted an email from Forrest Fenn unless it was like, you know, you did it, you won, congratulations, let's be friends, you know, like let's hang out and talk about it. It was awesome. Like an end thing, like after it's all over, that would have been awesome. But I want it to be pure. I don't want an asterisk to something as awesome as this. It's too much fun and it's too great and there's too many bragging rights at stake. You know what I mean?
How many times did you read the book?
Well, I only read it, you know, 2 or 3 times unless I was looking at specific passages trying to figure out a hint or something. I mean, it's not like it's going to change, so I didn't need to read it over and over and over again.
Right.
I read it.
Wasn't one of his clues or hints or whatever you want to say, one of his sayings was read the poem over and over and then go back and read the book slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Correct.
So
Yeah,
I just didn't know.
The poem to the book. Apply that poem to the book. The poem's the key to everything, right? Those are your directions. You gotta, whenever you have a question, you have to figure out where warm waters halts and go from there and follow the clues, right? And it doesn't matter if you're looking at the dust jacket or reading one of the stories or reading the book or out in the field. The poem is the key to everything. It's what he modeled everything around.
How about his other books? Do you feel they were hints in the other books?
Part of Walk works in a similar way as The Thrill of the Chase. And I think Once Upon a While it definitely has clues and definitely has scrapbooks in there, but I think it was more a book about the people that, like a lot of the hints were about the people that were looking for it and not necessarily only about where the treasure location was. I think he threw in some stuff like shout outs to people. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then none of that could ever be proved. And I, of course, live in my own brain, right? Which is a tiny little spot in the universe that nobody cares about but me, but it's the only way I can interact with the world, right? So when I read the book, I read it as, what if there's a story in here for me, right? It's a fun little game that I encourage everyone to play. What if Forrest Fenn threw you a shout out in a scrapbook? Where could your experiences in the chase align with what he's talking about, right? And I have my own little, you know, crazy theories about what parts could be about me if I was one of the people he was talking about, right? And I wouldn't expect anyone to ever believe it. You know what I mean? Because they're wild theories. But, you know, how cool would it be if that was true, right? Nice. So maybe I'll share one of those on one of your other shows, one of my really crazy theories and not a good theory. You know what I mean?
Right. So have you had other solves you've worked on before your final solve?
My solve, my final rainbow solve is like the 1,000th iteration of the same solve. So when I was out,
like the final draft,
I didn't get serious until I found something. And as soon as I found something, I went, oh my gosh, this is actually real. And we're actually on the trail. Now it's time to take it serious. And I built my solve from there. So it was always the same solve, but it changed many times, many times, based on where I was looking and how I was looking and what I would find and stuff like that. It changed a lot.
Nice. Nice. All right. Well, we better cut her loose tonight. Yeah, you're welcome. Come back on anytime, man. Even if it's just to discuss topics, you know, debate some things. Even if we don't talk about solve, we enjoy. I think the crowd out there enjoys having you on.
Well, yeah, I enjoy talking. I could talk forever, and you'd have to shut me up to get
right. Cool
just send
deal.
me an email whenever you want. And if anyone else has
Yeah,
a show
absolutely.
and wants to, I'm really interested in putting a bunch of people together and deciding on a way to go through a process of figuring out what is a clue and what is a hint and how do we identify them and what do we make of them, and just going through it slowly. And everyone who's on the panel that day or whatever can throw, their 2 cents in. And it takes as long as it takes, right? We jump on, here's the thrill of the chase. We all have a book. We're looking at this story. Find like the Babe or Baby Ruth thing.
Whatever.
It's
Yeah.
an obvious aberration. He's talking about candy bars and he's talking about, one of the greatest baseball players to ever live at the exact same time. There has to be a purpose behind that. What do you think
Right.
that is? Let's all discuss that. Because that's one of those ones I think is an obvious standout. Everyone's saw that and thought that had something to do with something. And I have my idea. Everyone has it.
And it's things like that. When the treasure was found, that's what I thought would come out, was stuff like that.
Exactly.
What did that story mean? What does this mean? Well, I thought, man, this is cool. Everything's going to make sense now.
We're about to get some answers.
We're going to get some answers.
And then what?
Was I wrong?
What K-Pro calls a nothing burger.
Nothing.
Which is what she calls me, a nothing burger. I can't believe it. I was so nice. But let me just say, tell you mine. Babe Ruth, right? What's Babe Ruth known for? What's his most famous thing besides hitting all those home runs? It's that time where he called his shot, right? You ever seen The Sandlot?
Right. Yep.
He calls his shot. He points to the stands. Something about a sick kid in the hospital. I'm hitting this home run for you. It's going out right now. And what does he do? Knocks it out of the park. He calls his shot. And little known fact, the very next pitch, Lou Gehrig was up to bat, and he hit that pitch out of the park too.
Nice.
Pitches in a row. That pitcher must feel like a jerk, whoever he was, right? But anyways, my point being, they had three candy bars apiece, 6 candy bars total, right? 6 Babe Ruths. So there ought to be a way to call your shot in the thrill of the chase 6 times. That's what I think that means.
Nice. Very interesting.
Define at least 6 things.
Nice. Cool. Well, we'll end it on that note. Thanks everybody for joining out there. Thank AKB. Great.
You can call me Bear, by the way. Everyone just calls me Bear.
All right, we'll call you Bear. I'd screw up people's names, obviously, anyway. So we'll call you Bear. But no, very interesting, man. You're a pretty intelligent guy. I like chatting it up with you. So
well, I like hanging out with you too, man. It's fun to talk to people about treasure hunting because no one I know likes to treasure hunt. So
cool deal. I love it. Yeah, I absolutely love it. It's a big part of my life. So, all right, guys, take care. We'll see you in the near future. So thanks for joining Find and Fin. We'll see you next time, guys.
Thank you.